everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video is actually in part with Scrapbooking with Me's weekend challenge. Every weekend there's a different challenge, and this one is this sketch right here. And this is going to be fun because I'm going to use the kit for June to create this sketch. So as we dive in, what I'm going to do is I'm using these two papers here, and I will make sure like you see up in the top left corner the sketch itself, so that way you can see it as we're completing it. So this sheet here, I know I want to do the strip down the middle and then the darker blue on the outside on each side, and I have black chipboard that we're going to attach this to, and I do that a lot of times when I have really light paper. And I love Kaisercraft paper, but it is not the thickest paper. Okay, it's really pretty. They always have, you know, front and backs, double-sided, but it's not that strong. And if you were to start doing mixed media on it, it's not strong enough to handle that. So the best solution I've found with those type is to attach them to chipboard. And if you attach it with a lot of adhesive, you don't get a lot of warping. You get some because, I mean, paper is naturally going to want to crinkle a little bit, but it's not as bad as if you did nothing at all. So I'm just attaching it with some double-sided tape, and I want to say this one is an inch. I think it's an inch wide. It's one of the rolls that I don't have the packaging anymore. So I just grab it every once in a while, especially when I want to use it for the entire back of something, because it doesn't take as much to, you know, fill it up. So we're just attaching this here, and if you ever have problems with your double-sided tapes, I always press it down, and then I'll grab like my pokey tool or something with a sharp end on it and use it to help lift it up, and I never have any problems. Right now I don't have any nails. Usually when I have the acrylic nails on, it's easy to pick up with just the nail, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So you either use your scissors, because they come into a nice point, or you can use an actual tool. Now when I laid this side down, the initial two were slightly more in, so that's why I waited to put the middle piece on until I had taken the backing off. And using just the ATG, the double-sided tape and the art glitter glue again, because if for some reason I put it down and it wasn't in the right spot, I needed just a little bit of time to be able to grab it back up and get it down in the correct position. So I always suggest that, especially with the double-sided tapes, especially if you just need just a little extra time. You want to make sure that when you're putting it down, you're getting it straight. Then I would definitely suggest definitely using a wet glue of some sort with it. It doesn't have to necessarily be art glitter glue, but I have fallen in love with the art glitter glue, so I definitely would, you know, suggest it. And then once that was down, I decided to grab my clear gesso because I knew I wanted to do a little bit of painting on the background. So I'm just putting it on. I didn't go all the way over to the edge, and I realize now, like, really I probably should have, because when it dries you can see the difference of where the clear gesso was, and like where it stops at. Basically it creates like a harsh line you can kind of see, because it looks a little bit darker. But if you ever do that and that happens, it's no big deal. You can always just take the clear gesso and put it all over, you know, the project on the side where you didn't get it, if you don't like that. It didn't really bother me. I have splatters and stuff and other things for your eye to go to, but I did want to mention that I did realize, you know, later what I done. So I'm taking some of these shimmers that I have and some of the liquid watercolor from Pink Fresh. This one is which one is this one? Sky Blue. And I'm mixing them together to try and get as close to the blue that's in this collection. It was still a little bit on the brighter side, but once it dries, when it dries back, you'll notice that it really does match really well. And that was just a little bit of bubble wrap, little bubble paper like from your packaging that I was using to kind of give it a little bit more texture. Because it was moving, but it just looked like a big puddle. And then once I did the bubble wrap, I liked the way it looked, and so I'm just taking my heat tool and getting this to dry. If you can let it dry naturally, then that's fine, that's great. But in the course of doing the video, of course, I needed to dry it quickly and get it on its way. Okay. So these are the photos that I'm going to be using, and instead of using just one, I knew I wanted to use the two, so I made marks kind of where I'm planning on them being. I do wind up changing it, but I just wanted to have a little mark to kind of lead me in the right direction. So I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink. And you do have to be careful with this ink only because it stays wet a little bit longer than a dye ink or like an archival. But it does work with watercolors as well. So with the mixed media, I figured it would be good and it would give me a vibrant black. Okay. So as you see, I'm using the different stamp sets. I'm laying down some of that, I guess, what would you call that? Almost like a honeycomb kind of look. And then I figured when I laid down the photos, I'm like, okay, so I still have a little piece over here that's kind of open. So I decided to put a little bit there. And then I'm just going around and adding basically like a second stamping. So it's not as vibrant as the other ones, but it left a little bit down there on the bottom left. And I'm just using the heat tool to once again speed up the process so that way we can continue on to the next step. And you can, with this particular ink, or if you use something that's more like like the distress oxides or stuff like that, anything that stays wet or sits on top of the paper a little bit longer, if you're worried about it smearing, you can use clear embossing powder on it and still use the heat tool and, you know, have it dry quicker that way. On this particular one, I didn't want it to be raised up, so that's why I didn't use the embossing powder. I just wanted it to be flat and just add a layer behind our cluster that we're going to create. Now I'm taping the photos to tissue paper. I've seen quite a few people do this on the Hip Kit Club, different layout, I guess you would say artists. They're like artists to me. I think some of the stuff, like if you ever get a chance, check out Missy Whidden. I just love watching her do mixed media because it's something that I long to do, but I'm not the greatest at yet. Do you know what I mean? Because I know it takes time to build up, but there are so many people on YouTube. That's one of the great things about YouTube, that you can really find so many different people to get energy from, to get, you know, to just be amazed by what they do, and you can pick up little things. So the tissue paper I got from watching Missy Whidden, and I will try and have a link down below to her specific page because I just think she's amazing. So I also decided that I wanted to put it on black cardstock, but I wanted to kind of like distress the edges of the photos so that the paper and the tissue paper would have sort of like a messy edge look. So that's what I'm using my tonic distress tool here. I think it's Tim Holtz. I don't have it right in front of me at the moment, but I believe that's who it's through. And then in that moment, when I laid them down like this, I was like, you know what? That's how I want to do it. I want to have this one lay down flat and go right there. And then I'm going to put the other one on top and kind of down a little bit with some fun foam. So I'm just putting some tape on the back that doesn't have any adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the back and then take off the backing so that the adhesive will go straight down onto the project. Now, in the course of doing that, I realized, okay, I'm definitely going to have to put some stuff up here in the top where I put that leaf, because it just needs definitely to have something there, since there's that basically opening where I didn't bring over a lot of that splatter. And I knew I wanted to use some of the die cuts that came in the kit, and I also wanted to put some down flat and then also use some to kind of like lift it up off the page. Plus we have the sticker book, so you're gonna see me pull out quite a few things to kind of, you know, give it just a little bit of layering. And you'll see here, I'm putting a little bit of foam back on this one. And on these particular pieces, I just put some art glitter glue on the back of the foam piece and put it to the project. And if you give the art glitter glue just a little bit of time, once it's down, it is down. Nothing is moving. Because I tried to move a piece before and I was like, okay, I guess I just got to commit. So, I'm just adding, like, that was a little sticker that I'm adding, that little yellow one up at the top there I'm adding, and those are from the sticker book. And I'm trying to go through and I see these strips, and on the one side I just put down family is life's greatest blessing, and then on the other one I put down life is more beautiful next to you. I just thought those were really pretty strips. Since I don't have a sewing machine, I couldn't do the stitching lines that you kind of see in the sketch. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to add stuff to that line and make it so that it's something, you know, interesting, something worth reading or taking a look at. So now I'm adding a couple of the die cut butterflies. And I knew I wanted to use some of the enamel, like the buttons here. So I decided to add the butterfly one. I was going to put the flower in the middle, but I decided to add it to the side of the photo. And then I was going to use this other one that's in my stock, in my stash, I should say. But I wound up using the one that's just the flowers. So once we get that attached, now anything that you're attaching to gesso, whether it be clear, white, if you're using black gesso, you do want to make sure you use your art glitter glue or some type of glue, because a lot of times stuff have a hard time attaching to clear gesso or gesso in general. The two that I put on the photos were fine because there was no gesso on there, and then the other one that I tucked in the middle up at the top, I did put a little bit on that one because it didn't have any sticky on the back, so I had to use the glue. And now we're doing the splatters because, you know, I can't, with this type of a messier background, I have to have some splatters on here too. And I wanted to make sure I did some gold, I did some black, and really and truly, had I thought about it, I would have done some white as well, but I just left it as this. And then I was like, oh, now I need to add my title. And I knew I wanted to use Better Together. It's on this particular chipboard thickers that I got. I want to say it was in one of our, it was the April kit, I believe. But it works with this set. You know, that's one of the good things about like the golds and blacks and white. You know, it doesn't matter what set you get it with. You can use it on anything because it goes with a lot of different things. So I'm just gluing down, putting a little bit of glue on the back of the wording. Sorry I'm off camera for this part. I do try to obviously move it up a little bit, only because I was really focused at trying to get it as straight as I can without, you know, really worrying about getting the ruler out and all that good stuff. So here we go. Here are the close-ups of the final project. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was so much fun. That's why I like our weekend challenges, because it, you know, helps you get out of a rut or make you maybe step outside your box. So if you want to participate, it usually goes from Friday to Sunday. And, you know, we have a chat or a picture that goes up, and then you can add your photos to it. It's really a lot of fun, and it gives you great opportunity to share. And we want to let people know you don't have to be someone who's doing videos and stuff like that. You could just share. It's a great place to share. Links to scrapbooking with me, the .com and the Facebook pages are all listed down below. So please come and join us next week, or this week coming. We'll be doing a color challenge. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Thanks again, you guys, and I hope you have a great day.